I would love to introduce my good friend Yehudit, and she hails from Israel. And before I say her more formal bio, she is one of the world's leading experts in self-defense and protection for children and women. And I have to tell you, it's pretty personal that she's here today because she was a mentor of mine in my previous lifetime of teaching women's safety and self-defense to women. And it's pretty cool to see somebody like her make this very long trip to come here and to work on a talk that can succinctly explain what she's been working on for literally decades. She is the co-founder and CEO of El Halev and president of ESD Global, which stands for Empowerment Self-Defense, which she will explain in her talk today. These two organizations between them have trained thousands of people, including women, children, and other vulnerable populations in empowerment self-defense, which is an internationally proven and effective method for violence prevention. So without further ado, I'd love to give a warm welcome to Yehudit.
So think for a moment that you're alone, and the person who's with you is behaving in a way that doesn't feel safe, or maybe touching you in a way that you don't want. Would you know what to do? Should you know what to do? And what if you were a kid? What we know about sexual assault is that boys are as vulnerable as girls. And I'm going to say that again. Sexual assault does not discriminate. Boys, little boys, are just as vulnerable as little girls. And therefore, we need to be giving them something that can help them in that moment of being alone, because that's the space where most of it occurs. And I believe that sexual assault, in all of its shapes and variations, is the largest health issue of our time. We know that it isn't just a trauma you get over. We know that it affects us. So, in looking to figure out who is doing the best in teaching children to keep themselves safe, we look to puppies. So who's playing with the puppies right now? Is that the mom or the dad? Does it really matter? No, it doesn't. What are they doing? What are they playing? They're play fighting, right? There's some sort of fight now, trying to catch mom, tag, whatever. Can you tell the difference in the genders of the puppies? No, you can't. Because mama dog and papa dog know that all puppies need to know how to protect themselves. And they learn that through play. They need to learn how to protect their bodies, their food, and their offspring one day. I'm a survivor of sexual assault at the hands of a clergyman. He was my guitar teacher also. And that's how he got me alone. And I was 12, and he was 27, and it was not a one-time deal. It was our special secret. And yet, even though it wasn't the big scary thing, which most self-defense classes focus on, it was wrong, and it totally derailed my sexual development, especially with my peers, because I didn't have a no. I had a why not. And why not is not a good reason to engage in intimacy. I didn't realize how detrimental this relationship I was in until I was a mother of a 12-year-old, when for the first time in my life, I could see that if that's how I acted and that's how I behaved, now I get it. Now I understand why this is considered sexual assault, even though it wasn't big and scary, because it was wrong. And what happened is I didn't develop the skills I needed to negotiate protecting myself. Because of this, I didn't have agency over my body. I was brainwashed into believing that the only thing I was good at was pleasing others. And therefore, I spent my life going down that rabbit hole. By the time I got to college, I was miserable. I didn't know how to set a boundary. I didn't know how to make a good decision. I didn't know how to keep myself safe from anything. I then got married to someone who also didn't respect boundaries. And somehow, somewhere along the way, I found judo. Or actually, judo found me. As a 28-year-old mother of 4, my neighbor convinced me to come to a judo class for women. I was ultra-Orthodox Jewish at the time, so like Orthodox Jewish women doing judo, yeah, not really. And within a couple of months, it felt good. My body felt smart, and it felt powerful. And for the first time in my life, I was able to look at my husband and say, hey, you know what? You want to control our entire lives, the money, kids, schools, where we live, fine, whatever. My judo, you don't tell me when, you don't tell me where, you don't tell me with who, it's mine. Whoa. One thing about boundaries, they're addictive. And you set one and you set it good and hard, it feels amazing. And so I wanted to set another one or another one, and well, needless to say, we are no longer married. So many times people ask me, well, what's the difference between martial arts and self-defense? So martial arts, for the most part, are systems designed by men for how men fight men. Empowerment self-defense specifically has been crafted over the last 45 years by women, many of whom have backgrounds in education, social work, psychology, and the martial arts, and have analyzed the types of violence that women, children, people with disabilities, and other vulnerable populations need to deal with on a daily basis. And violence isn't just life-threatening. It's a spectrum. And it's a spectrum from disrespectful or irritating to life-threatening. And on that spectrum, we need different tools in order to deal with them. Because you're not going to karate chop someone who cuts in front of you in the Starbucks. But a good kick to the groin might work to stop a rape. So why aren't we teaching this to children? Why are we not giving them the skills they need to negotiate this ocean that we live in? Because we teach them to swim. And I didn't teach my kids to swim so that they'll have a good time at the pool. I taught them to swim so they'd be safe in water. Self-defense against water. Really very simple. But we swim in an ocean of people a lot more, and yet we're not giving them the skills that they need for this. And I'm going to say this, even though it shouldn't have to be said. Okay? The only person responsible for violence is the person who commits it. On that being said, I'm anti-violence. But first and foremost, I'm anti-anybody being violent towards me. So I want to know that I have the skills to be able to respond. I want to be response-able. Because 9 times out of 10, if not more, I'm going to be the only one there when it's happening. So what does empowerment self-defense for kids look like? Well, it's really very simple. It's built on the 5 principles: think, yell, run, fight, tell. Think, yell, run, fight, tell. Say it with me. Think, yell, run, fight, tell. Louder. Think, yell, run, fight, tell. Again. Think, yell, run, fight, tell. Shout it. Think, yell, run, fight, tell. Awesome. Now, we don't always get to do it in that order. Like, sometimes you gotta run before you think about yelling and, But think is good for me, bad for me. Super dangerous or just irritating? What tools do I have? Is there somebody else who can help me? Is there somebody else who's out to harm me? Yell, use your voice. We teach kids to go, leave me alone. I want you to leave. So that one day they'll be able to say, hey, that wasn't nice. Don't talk to me like that. But they're always afraid that setting that verbal boundary will make it go physical, and they don't know what to do to protect themselves from the physical aspect. they may not make that verbal boundary. So we give the physical skills in order to empower the verbal skills. Think, yell, run. Run if you can. And for kids, they're inevitably a little bit faster than us. But I have no way to measure how fast Big Scary Thing is, that if I have to start running. And as a woman, the honest truth is, running depends on what? The shoes I put on that morning. And I don't want to have to choose my shoes based on fear. Fight if you have to. Not because you want to, but you have the right to. And tell. And telling is no less important than anything else in this list. As a person who has gone through or successfully gone through something scary, you have a right to share it, to get support, and to be believed. And that's how we will build safer communities. And most people don't report success stories. And so I'm going to tell you two short ones. One is 8th grader taking a course, family get together on the weekend, they're doing a family photo, everybody's all bunched together, her older cousin puts his arm around her a little bit too low. And she stood there saying, I'm not comfortable with this. What can I do? And she reached back, took his hand, and moved it to where she was comfortable. That is a success story. I'll leave you with that one. We all have a right to protect our body, no matter what wrapping you come in. This is the greatest gift I was given. It's got to serve me from the day I was born until the day I die. I want to take care of it. It's my right to protect it. And nobody will convince me of anything other than that. So I created an organization called ESD Global about 1.5 years ago, because I've spent the last 30 years with an intrepid army of boots on the ground who have the same 3 problems. Hard to get people to invest in themselves, to learn self-defense because it's scary. Hard to find people who want to teach this, and hard to get funding. And yet, it is the most researched, known violence prevention protocol around. And I want to supersize that. So please join me, take a brochure when you walk out, and welcome to the world of real self-defense, empowerment self-defense. Thank you.